Hello folks, this is Steve AB4L. Well, it's the day after the big East Coast storm. Oh, look at that! You see all the gravel in the road? That means that that creek was over the road and carried the creek bed pebbles with a torrent onto the road. A number of years back, that got washed out and they had to rebuild it. Now that's the first hint of how much rain we got. Now it rained on and off yesterday strongly and strong winds. And I can tell you that the river gauge at Ramseur said that the river crested about 5 hours ago at 18 plus feet. Not a record in the time I've been here, but one of the highest. The watershed for the Deep River upper branches and creeks is huge. It's up near Greensboro and all around. There's Randleman Lake. Now we're coming to Cedar Falls. The Deep River at Cedar Falls. And this is the bridge. There's nobody behind me. Okay, this is interesting. Wanted to see how high it got here. Now, the step down at the Deep River here in Cedar Falls is as much as it is in Franklinville, where I was about 3/4. Okay, now, what do we see here? It's a warning. Maybe the water was that high. Let's see if we can figure it out. Now first I want to give you a feeling of how it looks from here. All right, was the water up to the parking lot? Yes. How do I know? You see that big log? That wasn't here yesterday. We saw one at Franklinville in the Riverside Park. Okay, if that log is there, then it's approximately level with where I'm standing right now in the parking lot. Let's hang on. So the water was up to here. And if we look at the mud, we can see, you see the white line that runs along this edge of the road? The water was just past that. I'm going to get in and out a couple of times. All right, I'm going to turn this off. I'm going to give you a little walking tour. All right. Originally, 100 years ago, there were stores here. The mill was expanded. The stuff was torn down. There's a parking lot. It is now a museum. In this past year, they've done the new electrical feed here. I showed you that. Now, here's the edge of the parking lot. And we can see that the water was definitely at least this high. We can see water coming from a hole there, running into the river. So it's draining from somewhere behind us. Just so we get a perspective. Those trees and those trees are normally right at the low water edge. We can see the water's been in the parking lot. This is dried out because it's windy, but we can see the mud. You could say, well, that's from the rain. These trees are normally at the edge of the low water level. Now this is what I call a bypass. Oh, flashing lights down there. Those are some kind of work crews. This is not the main deep river. This way is the dam. The water used to cross behind there and go down when the mills were first created, behind what is this building now, and then cross the intersection back in here. That's an island where they used to cross on a bridge and have their lunches, the workers, and the deep river's on the other side. But this was never the mill race, except way up near the dam there was a split. The main flow of the deep river is over here. The side flow around Cedar Falls Island is here. That diversion is also where they put the dam, this one here, and diverted the water to run the mill. Muddy. The currents made this like a sea bottom and reshaped it and dug it out. So this is a current that dug out, and there's some kind of pipe there. All right? So at the edge, with a high rate of flow and turbulence, all of this was flat. This was more or less flat before. Here's some beach sand. Pardon my camera work, folks. Okay. When I first came here 10 years ago, there were trees here. I had a video long ago where there were some people came after one of these and they did some gold prospecting here. And then a year ago or so, they were doing gold retrieval from up here, and just down a little further there was in fact long ago a gold mine. Now let's look at what we have. You see where this big tree is? That's normally sitting on what I'll call a little butte. To cross the river you would walk down here and step on the rocks across, and then have to step up about 3 to 4 feet. And that tree would be up normally about the root of it would be about 6 feet above the river normally. This has all been kept clear by somebody recently, and I think it's for people who come here in boat and kayak that they made the effort. This normally has a lot of brush on it. They've now kept it clear. Now, let me go a little further. I'm giving you a little geography lesson. This will give us a good idea in comparison to the Andrew Hunter Bridge at Riverside Park and the Deep River Trail in Franklinville, a few miles down the river that way. We can see that this bridge is on open steel piers, and we can see the stuff that's been caught in it. And this is a modern bridge, and there was a successor before that, and before that there was another one that was somewhat parallel. Now I'm pointing straight at it. In the brush over there, right where I'm pointing, you see those trees leaning? If you did a straight line through them, there's a pier there. I can see the rocks. The original bridge came from there to approximately there. Came from there approximately to there. The split in the river went behind the mill and crossed the intersection. Came from behind the mill and went into the river. That's why the bridge was on this side. Got it? The worker community lived along here with stores and houses and the village here. I think it's beautiful. Pardon my camera work. So we would estimate that from the road surface to the river, I'm going to guess is 20 feet. Have I seen it higher? I have a video up from, actually I put a link to it for someone else. The last time it crested here, it crested at about what happened during the night. But I've also seen it when the water was all the way into the intersection and standing in that intersection. So I have seen it higher than what it is now. I'm just being careful. I'm just being careful. Oh, this is good. We can see how high the water was. Thank you to the person who parked this trailer. There's direct proof of how far up the water got. I contended that it was right into the road, but just to the edge of the road. Do you see the mud line? Right there on that, that's about 8 inches. And proof on the other side. Okay? And if we were to come here, somebody's making a delivery of a prefabricated steam system. We don't see much mud here. I'm trying to decide where the water line actually was. It definitely was. All right, I'm going to guess that it probably did come just to the edge of the parking lot. But we saw the tires. Yeah, that's right. For the top of the line on the tires, it doesn't quite go into the road. So it was here. And that's the reason why these are here. The reason why these are here is they were carried by the very edge of the water. I don't know if those boards were here before. And, very good. And right here was the edge of the high mark puddle, and that's the vegetation debris lapping at the very edge of it at the peak. It was like that. There you go. Yeah, I used to be an analyst for the Mossad. No, I'm just an idiot running my mouth. I'm having fun, folks. More proof. Aha. Now this was put in during this past year. Here's the high water line because of the swishing of the mud. There it is. That's how high it got. And that height says that it got into the grassy area but not into the road. And we can tell by this pattern, rippled pattern, that that's the silt that was carried to the edge of the lapping water at the peak. You see it? That's a pattern. This is fine silt, and I'm disturbing it by marking it. So that is not in the concrete. That is the silt pattern that was rippling at the edge of where the water reached. Ditto for this. This was the high area. See it? Now, this parking lot is slanted, and on this pole, the water got just to there. All right? We're doing pretty good. So I've given you a circuit of Cedar Falls. Oh, that's interesting. See that pipe on the other side? It was snaked like back and forth like that. The torrent has stretched it out. I'm going to get back in the car and I want to go down away and see what's down there. Let's get in the car. Ready to go? Let's go down a little further. Now, one of the things I'll say is that I think that's a gold pump on the back of that truck. Now, I'll bet they'll be down here again because with this torrent, it churns up the sediment of upstream, and then as it subsides, the heavier particles will fall, and they may want to retry it. Shoulder work above. Now let's see what they were doing today. All right. AWP safety, so they have to do with directing traffic. I'm not promoting anything, I'm not recommending anything. Let's see what's up here going on. Ah, I can tell you what it is. They're working on the fiber. You couldn't see it, but it was off-road right there. They're working on the fiber. Now, this is all bedrock under the right side. If you got permission, you could go down here and launch your canoe below the dam, and straight ahead, look, you see the telephone, the power pole that's nearest us, and then if you look in the distance, there's another one or a tree, and right between those two views, you might be able to see the churning water coming over the dam. And the dam at this point is not very high. And I mentioned in the video at Franklinville that if you were to go in a kayak over the dam right now, given that it now amounts to what's a low dam, you'd be stuck in the turbulence right at the wall, and you would die there because you wouldn't be able to get out or swim out. Your kayak would be stuck with you too. Pardon me. That's something that happened to people up near Eden about a year ago. They didn't know they were going over a low dam and didn't understand the consequence, and they went over it with their kayaks, and several people died because they were caught in the turbulence right at the foot of the fall, and they couldn't get out and they drowned. They're doing fiber. I'm going slow. Look to the left. You see the yellow thing there? And you see the other yellow one there? One of them is a borer and the other one is the water pump. And that's why they have the truck there with the water. Is that as they bore, they need to hydrolyze it. They need to flow water into it and create mud so that the bore can continue forward. And here's another view again of Cedar Falls, about 4 to 5 feet below Crest. And more people have come down to take a look at it, and we're headed home. And that was the Cedar Falls post office over there. And we're headed back over the Deep River Bridge. And we're going to head back up to 64 and go home. Steve AB4L, a little adventure observing the high water from the East Coast storm that came through yesterday. Saying see you in 73.